How do you get better? By playing. That's the only way to get better. You can't get better by saying, well, I went to a great school and they taught me. No, you get better by playing, because you find out who you are and how to get better. So as you're making this decision, concentrate first on the academics. Because let me tell you, if you can play, they will find you under a rock. I mean, think about where all the players come from, the big leagues. They come from these remote towns in the Dominican Republic where kids have no shoes, they have no baseball field. They find them. They come from little towns in South Dakota. I mean, Travis Hafner, I think, was from North Dakota. Now, does anyone know anyone from North Dakota? I sure don't. He was the first person I ever met from North Dakota. You know, I came from a small town, Peoria, Illinois. Jim Tomey played there. Peoria, Illinois, with its suburbs, was about 200,000 people. I lived in East Peoria, one of the suburbs. So I'm telling you, if you can play, they will find you. And it's a great game. Don't lose that passion. Let me talk to you about one other thing. Your talent is God-given. There's no doubt about it. Your talent is God-given. It's the one thing that you can't control, because you only got so much talent. There was a catcher at Northwestern University that had much more talent than I did. He was younger, he was faster, he was stronger, he had a better arm, but he didn't have the work ethic I had. That's the one thing that you can control, whether it's in baseball, school, or any walk of life. We have a motto. My wife knows what my motto is. No one will ever take my job because they're outworking me. Never. I played with Jorge Posada. Bottom line, he was more talented. It was a matter of time. I knew that. But I still played. After I left here, I still played. I played 15 years. And I wasn't talented as a lot of guys that didn't play one day. But I was going to find a way to make it. And that's the attitude that you have. Because most people and most athletes in life don't realize how hard you can physically be pushed. You think you're tired. There's always more. There's always more. And that's kind of the Navy SEAL attitude. They push those guys to the brink, you know, to where a lot of them, I had a chance to go out there and watch them train and do some things. Where a lot of these guys, when they go that, they call it the hell week, you know, where they get like 4 hours of sleep for a week. A lot of them quit when they give them a hot meal. They get like one hot meal. And they think, man, this is great. Why am I doing this? But there's always a reward. And there's that self-satisfaction that you did everything you could to be the best that you could be in whatever you choose to do in your walk of life. So I would tell you, don't let anyone outwork you. Because there's going to be a guy that says, hey, let's go do this. And I got to tell you, there's a lot more distractions in your life than there was ever in my life. We didn't have cell phones. Our video games were like prehistoric. We just didn't have it. I mean, I texted my daughter had to teach me how to text. I didn't have a cell phone until, how old were we? 35, 34? You know, that was when I had my first cell phone. So you got to cut the distractions out. So if you really want something, you have to give something up. So if you really want to be great at what you do, you're going to have to give something. It might be some friend time, and I know friends are important, but it might have to be some friend time. Make good decisions, and always protect each other. How many of you guys are like teammates or know each other? You guys know each other? Like, who do you know here? Keep him from getting in trouble. And you do the same thing. Because I went and spoke at the University of Alabama in August. And I spoke to them about, you're a team, everyone's gunning for you, you're marked because you're the last national champion, you're preseason #1, you are going to be everyone's bowl game. Every team you play, it's a notch in their belt that they knock you off. The last thing I said is, look, you guys are friends, your family, your team members. Don't let the guy next to you do something stupid. It wasn't 3 days later someone got busted for a DUI. It didn't take long. So you have a responsibility to each other to keep in touch and keep each other out of trouble. School, work ethic. Those are the two things. And if you'll do that, you'll go as far as you could possibly go with your God-given gift. I'm here for questions.
When you were in college, did you carry a full load of those semesters, spring and fall?
Yes. Yes and no. When I went to Northwestern, we were on quarters, so there were 3 quarters, and you needed 4 classes every quarter to graduate on time. I was an engineering major. So my freshman summer and my freshman season and my sophomore season, I only took 3 in the spring when we were playing. And took 2 classes my freshman summer. But then after that, I never went back to summer school, and I just took 4 every quarter.
I have a question. Warm weather school versus cold weather school. And obviously, I'm asking because you went to Northwestern. In my house,
Chicago, it was
warm
freezing.
weather school.
Yeah. Freezing. Today, it was 32 degrees there with a 5-degree wind chill factor.
But the quality of baseball is still full season. You got
You know, you're so limited what you can do now in collegiate sports, where you can only practice so much and you can only play so many games. I don't think it really matters. And you know what people are finding out is too many kids are playing too much, and they're getting hurt. I mean, my son plays on a team. He's 12 years old now. And the season got over. They were playing he's playing football, and then he starts basketball. And the coach kept saying, "You want him to hit? You want him to hit? You want him to hit?" I'm like, "No." There's a reason, as a professional athlete, I didn't pick up a bat for 3 months. I didn't pick up a ball for 2 months. My body needed to rest. So I don't think there's a huge advantage. You look all around the major leagues, there's people from all over the country. There's people from the Midwest. There's people from even North Dakota. You know, there's people from everywhere. Yeah, do they get to maybe play outside a little bit more? You know, if you live in California, if you live in Florida yeah. But you still can only play so many games. And you can only practice so many days. And I think kids that play in cold weather are tougher.
more endurance.
They're tougher because they have to endure that cold weather. And you see kids that come from warm weather cities, they don't like the months April and May. Well, I gotta tell you, you can't control who you get drafted by, and April and May aren't going away.
When Jorge came up in the 90s, how were you able, when he was trying to take your spot, how were you able to teach him how to be a better catcher while he was trying to take your spot?
I think my faith helped me. You know, I knew that God was really in charge of my life, so I was going to play where he wanted me to play, whether Jorge was there or not. I also really wanted to win. So I think, if this is my youngest 7, I really wanted to win, so I knew that we were a team. And he actually pushed me. He helped me get better too, because there was a guy that I was trying to keep from taking my job. So it worked out really well.
How do you deal with mental anxiety, stress, pressure?
Preparation is the best way to deal with it. When you feel prepared, and you are prepared, the game becomes instinctual. The last thing that I ever wanted was to have to think about, how do I make a throw to second? How do I take a swing? Yeah, did I think about pitch selection? Yeah, because I could think about the pitch before I actually called it. But it's preparation for me. Look.
Trusting you know you're going to be able to do it.
Right, look,
But you're prepared.
we all have fear of failure. Anyone who tells you they don't have fear of failure is full of you know what, right? Because we want to succeed, and there are things that are tough, and of course you want to do well. It's what that does. Does it motivate you to work harder, or does it paralyze you? If you're prepared, it's going to make you work harder, and I don't think it's going to paralyze you. Learn how to relax. You know, I used to chew gum. It helped me.
Did you play multiple sports in high school?
Yes, and I would recommend it, and I played football, basketball, baseball my freshman year. My sophomore year, I got cut from the basketball team because the coach told me that I was good enough to make it my sophomore year, but I wasn't making it my junior year, so go play baseball. So that's what I did. But I refuse to let my son pick one sport right now. Play them all. He put down the football now. He's playing basketball. He'll start hitting in January some with Danny and doing some ground balls. And he really gets going when we go to spring training. But I think it helps you in your other sports, and you don't get burned out. And I had a passion for football too. I actually like football better than baseball. But there aren't too many 5'11", 165-pound quarterbacks playing college football.
I know Don Mattingly used to say, when he used to come to bat, I can and I will hit the face.
Right.
I remember reading his book. Was there something you used to tell yourself, or what maybe some of these kids should to keep their confidence up. I mean, that sounds like a great piece of advice. I can and I will.
I used to tell myself, I'm gonna get a hit. That's what I did. And you know what? Visualize. Obviously, your parents probably take video of you. I mean, that's what we do in this age. You know, we put it on our phone. Study the good things before you go play a game, because it puts a mental picture in your head of having success. I do it for my kids. You know, we make tapes and so the things that they do well, it's a positive image in their head. And that's what athletes are doing a lot. And they put music to it. I mean, if your parents give you the video, you kids will put music to it and you'll really enjoy it. So it's just positive reinforcement. That's what you want. Because there's going to be enough negativity in this game because you're going to fail a lot. There's no doubt about it. So study the positive things.
What about Joe Torre left the biggest impression on you? Have you used anything that rubbed off on you from him, the way you manage now?
Yeah, I think Joe had an amazing ability to make everyone around him feel that everything was going to be okay, no matter what situation we were in. Whether someone's father had gotten sick, or we'd lost 6 games in a row, or we were down 2 games in the World Series to nothing, he had that ability to make everything's going to be okay. And that's important because our season's long. You play 162 games, you're going to go through some bad times. That's the bottom line. So I really tried to adopt that. I'm extremely positive because I know how hard the game is. And I think sometimes people forget, coaches, parents, you forget how hard this game really is to play in a high level. And most parents, I tell, and I don't want to insult parents here, most of you don't know half of what you think you know, right? I mean, it's the bottom line. And you're trying to coach your kids, and for the most part, our kids don't receive our coaching as well as other people. So if there's a message I want to get to my son, I'll go through Dan, right? I've told Dan, I don't like what he's doing. Because I once told my son, he was 5 years old, and it was funny. I laughed. And I said to Dante, Dante, you should do this with your hands. And he said to me, Dad, you are a catcher, not a hitter. I mean, that's the bottom line. And I tell my kids all the time, I'll sit down with my 14-year-old daughter and I'll say, hey, I said, I used to think my parents were really dumb. And now that I'm 49, I realize really how smart they were. And if I would have listened back then, I probably wouldn't have struggled so much. But that's just the nature of the relationship. So the points that I want to really get through to my kids a lot of times, I use other people. And the game is really hard. And it looks easy on TV. But think about it. Look how easy it looks for Robbie Cano to hit. How many times does Robbie Cano chase a bad pitch? All the time. How often does Robbie Cano make it out? 70% of the time. It's not that easy. And when you watch it on TV, it looks easy, but it's not. And people think the game is slow. Yeah, it is slow in between pitches. But think about when the ball's hit to you, how quick you have to make a decision. Or when you're hitting, how quick you have to make a decision. So it's a fast game. It just seems slow when you watch it. And do whatever you can to slow the game down. That's how you have to learn how to relax.
What did you do to get recruited and get interested in colleges?
I played. That's all I did. And a couple schools saw me. We got lucky enough to make the state tournament. We played 1 game. We lost 1-0. We had like 3 hits. I got 2 of them, and I threw a guy out. And the Northwestern coach gave me a scholarship. He saw me play 1 game, and he put his faith in me. And those are other people you want to be around, people that put their faith in you. Because the game's hard. But that's how I got seed. Actually, the guy that recruited me at Northwestern, or at University of New Orleans, that I was going to see was a guy by the name of Ron Maestri. Ron Maestri's parents were best friends with my wife's grandparents. I had no idea who she was until we went to college. It's a funny world, but that's how it was. But just from playing, they saw me.
You go like a lot of camps or showcases?
Rick, it was a different time.
We had like 1 a summer. That was it. That was it. Where you would go, and there'd be a few scouts there, and you would play. But in the summer, I used to play 90 games a summer. I'd play on 3 different leagues and play out, and that's how I got noticed.